What's up, guys? Here we are in the graveyard, picking up right where I left off. We're gonna bring this old thing into the driveway and dig into it and see if we can get it running better, see if we can identify what the noise it's making is. Basically just get it stable. As of right now, the thing can't even like idle on its own, hardly. So hopefully it starts pulling this into the driveway, and I'm just gonna dig right into it, and then I'll run you guys through all the stuff I'm kind of trying to figure out with it. I got it started, but this is me in reverse. This trans is just slipping like crazy. This trans is destroyed. The car is shaking like crazy. Check engine light. Oh God, this is I feel like I'm flooring it. I can hardly even get going. And now I don't know if that's trans or if that's like the motor misfiring really badly. I think it's all trans because it just like picked up right there. So that's trans is definitely screwed. But we made it to the driveway. Say hi to the other Calypso. And now we are gonna dig in. So as I mentioned, this engine bay looks like the freaking car has been sitting for a decade. It looks like the hood's been open. It's absolutely gross in here. So what I'm gonna do is pop off this cover, pop out all the coil packs, and see if there's any water in all the spark plug wells. I've had that a lot on these parts cars that sit, or just cars that sit in general, especially cylinder 6. Water will just kind of seep in and soak it in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and check that first. That's the easy thing to do. And then from there, maybe get some replacement coil packs, check those out. And then if nothing improves, I'm gonna run over to the vacuum system here. I already see this intake boot is kind of hanging off. That might be one thing. I'm gonna check this boot for cracks, check the ICV hoses, and check around with the math. Because O2 sensor leads me to believe that it's something vacuum or misfire related, just because the car is kind of confusing. It's AFRs, so it'll kind of misinterpret it as a bad O2 sensor, or I'll just unplug the O2. All right, so nothing was wet in cylinder 6, and that's the one that's always wet. So if that one's not bad, then I'd imagine these aren't bad either. I'm gonna pull out one though, just to get the other end. So water is not what's causing this misfire, but I'm also not really sure that it's even a misfire. I think it might just be a really bad vacuum leak. Everything in here is really crusty. Inside here doesn't look too good. Very like dirty. I want to pull off this valve cover and see what these trays look like, because I'm kind of concerned. So I might actually just do that. I might pull off the cover. I don't know. I don't want to waste my time, but I also want to see what these internals look like. So maybe I'll get it running better, and then I'll go ahead and do that. Well. Glad I did that, because 1 and 2 is even worse. Is maybe you can see actually full of oil. The entire plug, the entire boot. So that is 110%. One of my issues right there. I'd imagine that's why it's not running good. I'm gonna pull out these other 3 and see what these look like. That's not a great start. You can tell the valve cover's been done. I see the RTV, and I could see the little streak of oil leaking. So I don't know why that is as full as it is though, because it doesn't look like it's leaking that bad. But I'm gonna have to pull out that, somehow get that oil out, pull the spark plug out, clean the spark plug, take out all the spark plugs, put them back in dry, and then we're gonna troubleshoot from there. But that gives me a pretty good idea of why the car was running how it was running. I'm guessing cylinder 2 was for sure misfiring, because that plug is pretty wet, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these 3 looks the same. All right, so 3 was not bad, and 5 is a little wet, but this one, 4 and 2 are soaked all the way to the top. The oil is even on the very top part of the spark plug. So I think 2 and 4 were definitely misfiring. Plug 1 is not looking good at all. I don't even know where to begin. This is probably the worst set of spark plugs I've ever pulled out of an engine in my life. So the ones that were in the really wet cylinders are absolutely soaked. Like these, I already had it. You could see I had to freaking blot them. These are soaked, and then 6 is rusted. So not to mention all of these were way over torqued. They hardly even want to come out. None of these threaded out easily. The tops are covered in oil, the bottoms are covered in oil. They have a ton of carbon buildup on them. Like they're completely blackened, not even just like dirt, but like carbon of like sitting for years. So my guess is this thing has been sitting for a long time. These look miserable. I'm just gonna have to go out and buy I'm just gonna have to buy some. NGK BMW. I wonder if these are the original spark plugs, because I don't think you buy NGKs anymore. I don't think they'll actually say BMW on them. Don't take my word for that, but that's what I think. A mouse just ran out of the car. This is literally the mouse right here. Oh my God. I'm gonna try to pick him up on camera. Look at this. This little freaking mouse. Look at this guy. Stuart Little. No, don't go on my E30 I'm literally trying to pick up a freaking mouse on camera for you guys. This was an uncalled part of this video, but I actually caught him. I literally just had to play chase with this dude underneath my E30, and then he darted and got into the garage, and I had to chase him all the way over here in all this junk. Thank God I got him, or else this dude would have been living in the garage this winter, but wasn't expecting that. So yeah, this little mouse just jumped out of some part of this car. I don't know where he was, but he jumped out of somewhere. And yeah, so there's probably more. I'm kind of nervous to look through it, and I was literally just telling you guys about how I think this car has been sitting based off the plugs. So it has definitely been sitting. So I'm gonna go let this guy loose in the backyard, meet up with some of his friends. But wow, that was fun. So I went to AutoZone and got the plugs I need. I honestly just bought the cheapest stuff that they said fit a 525. So I got these Bosch double platinum FR7 DPP 33X. I don't know. I don't think I've ever ran these before. I'm pretty sure these aren't what like FCP tells you to run, but whatever. I need something. These are the cheapest. They only have one. I guess you would call it. I don't even know what you'd call that. The electrode, whereas the originals have two, and I recall all of them having two. All right, all the plugs are in, the coil packs are back in and hooked up. Let's start this thing up. Let's see if I improved anything, see if it runs better. I'm kind of excited, fingers crossed. Okay, nothing there. Okay, so yeah, something is still not happy with this car. Looks like I gotta do some further digging. So I unhooked the MAF and started it, and it actually runs. So I believe this thing has a bad MAF because it's actually holding idle now, which is nice. And it revs. It still sounds like it has a misfire though. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna go grab a spare MAF. Hopefully I have one. I think I might have sold them all, to be honest. But yeah, I'm gonna throw a MAF in this thing and give it another shot. So the MAF is confirmed bad on this car. I just cleaned it, plugged it back in. Car will hardly start or run with it plugged in. Unplug it and the car will actually maintain its idle. So conveniently I bought that other car, so I have another MAF laying around. So I went and grabbed that, and I'm gonna throw that in and see what happens. So this MAF is confirmed no good. Of course, you guys know I sell all these parts, but I'm all out of MAFs. They sold like hotcakes. They hardly ever sell, but sold like crazy a few months back. So now I'm stuck sharing MAFs. Could pull it out of my touring, but I'll drive that before I drive the other parts cars. So yeah, let's throw this in and see what happens. Stupid old me didn't even look at the most obvious vacuum hose, the one from the ICV into the bottom of the intake boot. You can see it right there. It's completely detached. That hose is ruined. So that is the culprit of why it's running like trash. With the new MAF, I was actually able to get it to stabilize and idle, but you could hear a gnarly vacuum leak and it wasn't very happy. So that's that right there. So I'm gonna try to rig that on or replace it really quick and take this thing for a spin. I was able to shorten the hose and get it around the plastic coupler, but then the intake boot itself cracked. Luckily, I got a spare from all the parts cars prior, because I don't really sell these because, you know, they're not that nice, they're old, but this one's better than that one is. So I'm gonna toss this one in there, hook everything back up, and then there should be no vacuum leaks, and I think this thing should actually run pretty freaking good. I'm gonna try to go on a ride, even though the auto trans is very bad. Should still be able to, like, you know, feel out the motor though. So it still is making that noise, but it only happens when you quickly hit the thing. Like, not if you, when you just rev, you don't hear it. So that's just me revving, like as if you were driving the car. You know, knock is a thing that always happens, right? So like in the E30's case, you wouldn't really hear it on idle, but you'd hear it at 3K. This motor, I can sit here and, you know, hold this wide open. You don't hear knock at idle, you don't hear knock anywhere in the rev band. You just hear that one little metallic doot, which to me doesn't really sound like knock at all. So I just had Zach and Eustace, they listened to it through the phone, but both of them said not knock. Zach said it sounds like it's ignition knock, meaning pre-detonation, meaning garbage fuel. As you guys can see, this car has clearly been sitting for a long time, so that does add up, and now I'm thinking it probably just has bad fuel, old fuel in it. I've never really heard an M50, you know, pre-detonate like that, but it does make sense. So what I'm gonna do is, it's got like a little bit less than a quarter tank. I would just fill it and have it mixed, but I think I'd rather just get the old fuel out. I forgot there's a drain on these cars. That is exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna drain the old fuel out of this thing and put some new stuff in there and see if that improves the noise or anything like that. So I don't know when BMW decided to not put more drain plugs in the E34s, because that car is a 95 and it doesn't have a drain plug, which kind of sucks. I tried to siphon it. I couldn't get the siphon all the way down to get it to pump anything. I don't understand why 92 has it, 93 has it. I guess either 95 only or 94, 95. They got rid of the drain plug, which sucks. After multiple failed siphon attempts, I tried everything, literally. Finally jumped the fuel pump relay. I realized I had the pin mixed up, so now I'm letting it run. The hose is too short to really truly guide it, so I have to just let it run down the front of the motor. But yeah, she's pumping away, getting all that old fuel. The stuff is like green. It has this disgusting odor to it that I've literally never smelled. The fuel is ruined, so no wonder why this thing was pinging. If you guys don't know, on a 95, the relays are laid out a little bit different than all the earlier models, but that's it down there. It's pin 30 and 86, I want to say. Let me see here. 30 and 87. Those are the ones you gotta jump. I think they're reversed on this versus later models. That's why I was a little confused. I left you guys the other night of me draining the gas, and then I don't think I ever updated you, but the car was still misfiring. I knew from the start of this video I was mentioning a misfire, and I know I kind of got off topic from that, but the car to me still didn't sound right. You know, I know my M50's. I knew it didn't sound healthy. I knew it didn't sound happy. Surely enough, I unplugged all the coil packs, and as soon as I got to cylinder 2 and unplugged it, nothing changed. All the other 5, the car would noticeably stumble. That's a good coil pack test if you're not familiar with that. So coil 2, no good. I swapped in 2 other ones and did not fix anything. Misfire stayed. So where we're at right now, I'm gonna pull the thing out of the frickin' woods, and I got a compression tester. I'm gonna compression test it and make sure that the motor is mechanically there. If the compression test comes back bad, that is it for that car. It's done. It's gonna be nothing but a parts car. And then I'll either have to use my spare M50 motor in my shed, which is technically for my Calypso, or I'll have to strip this. Not quite sure what I want to do there yet, but either way, that's the next check. If compression comes back good, then it's something with the fuel rail or the fuel injectors. Given the gas that was in there, I wouldn't be surprised if it is completely clogged, injector 2. Me being brilliant and parking a car in the woods with a blown auto trans and a freaking misfire, I'm stuck, can't back it up. So I came forward, and coming forward, I beached it into this stump, which somehow miraculously did not destroy the bumper. Somehow the bumper got over it and then caught, so I had to pull the bumper off. Everything survived. I think that fog light might have already been cracked. Maybe it wasn't, whatever. Bumper lived, thank God. But now I gotta deal with trying to get this thing off the stump. Oh, it looks like I'm gonna have to pull it out with a truck. Or I guess I'll just do the compression test in the frickin' woods. Why not? Because nothing else is working. So if the motor is blown, then it doesn't need to leave from the woods anyway. So I got the compression tester hooked up to cylinder 1. When you're doing a compression test, you need to pull out your fuel pump fuse, because otherwise you're just gonna flood your motor, which is 23. So that is right here, the blue one. I don't have the tool. Gotta do this the old-fashioned way. Yeah, so cylinder 2 spark plug, which is the misfiring cylinder, compared to cylinder 1. looks super clean. That one's really black. This one looks like it's getting absolutely no fuel. So that's a good start right there. But hooking up the pressure tester, and here comes the big moment here. All right, I'm setting up the camera so that you guys will see these numbers before I even see them. So fingers crossed. Okay, so it goes up and then it drops right away. So I don't believe it's supposed to drop. So it looks like either this side has a bent valve or something. I'm not really sure what that means. Okay, so this time around it actually saw 210 and isn't dropping. That's kind of weird. I tightened it down a little bit more. I didn't think it was leaking to begin with, but it's actually holding compression at 210. It's leaking a little bit. Clearly not what you guys just saw before. So maybe the cylinder isn't dead. Maybe it is fuel. I don't know why these numbers have been so weird. The car keeps having residual fuel and it keeps trying to start, and it's throwing off this test like completely. But that's a lot better of a sign. All right, so of course the GoPro died. Basically, I was all worried, but inherently I thought that there's no way even a bad engine would lose compression like that. I did all 3 cylinders, even after doing the first one, which came back good, and it still dropped right away. So I called Eustace, whose tester it is, and he said, change out the valve stem. Surely enough, I blew through the line and it leaked. So the valve stem was no good. So I replaced that with a wheel valve stem because they're all the same. And I went and got 3 readings of 150 on all 3 cylinders. So they're consistent. It's low, but the motor's very cold, and the battery's dying, and the jump box is broken, as I said. So that kind of adds up. You know, dying battery, cold motor, I think that's about right. Basically, if they're all the same, I'm not worried. It's when you see one that's variation is a lot greater than the others, then you gotta worry. So all is looking to be well. I'm gonna finish off the rest of the 3, and then I brought up a spare injector. I literally just sold my last fuel rail with injectors in it today. Like, literally, this stuff always happens. You can't make it up. I always sell something and then I need it right after I sell it. But I did have spare injectors, so assuming the motor's good, I'm gonna pop a spare injector in cylinder 2, because this is, look at the spark plugs. The left is cylinder 2. You could see it hasn't even gotten gas yet. And then the right is the other cylinders, and they all look the same. So yeah, it's not getting fuel, so the injector's stuck closed. And if you look, you can't see with no light, but it's absolutely rusted to hell. Like, the O-ring is just rusty, so it does not look good from the start. All right, I got the new fuel injector in, everything wrapped up. Fingers crossed here. Man, I hope this thing starts and runs and doesn't leak fuel. It's gonna take a while to crank over because there's gonna be no fuel in the rail, but we'll see.
A few moments later.
Right off the bat, that is an M50 that's not misfiring. I can tell just by feel and by sound, she's firing on all 6. She has fuel again. I'm stoked. You can, I don't know, probably from the video you can't tell, but M50 should be running so smooth you should hardly be able to tell it's on. But before it had a noticeable stumble. That stumble's gone. To prove it, I'll unplug coil 2 and let you guys hear and prove to you that this cylinder's now working. So if I pull that off, you're gonna hear it stutter. Hold on. Yep, that's how it was running before. So plug that back in, and there we go. She's on all 6, finally. And for the first time in I don't know how many years. Turns out, at the end of the day, it was just the injector stuck. I've actually never had an M50 with a stuck injector. Usually these things are pretty durable. They usually don't clog up like that. But this car has been sitting probably longer than any E34 I've ever touched in my life. So now I'm gonna do the revs and see if it still has that fuel ping. It kind of all adds up now. If that cylinder wasn't getting any fuel, it would obviously be fuel pinging and pre-detonating. Looks like the donor motor is a good motor. This was a roller coaster. I didn't even expect it to be like this. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully not too long. But holy crap. From thinking rod knock to thinking whatever, it's a good motor. Yep. No more fuel ping. You can see right there. That's a quick acceleration. No more noise. None at all. So yeah, it was fuel ping because of a stuck injector. It's on all 6, running like a freaking top. I'm so stoked. I'm gonna call it there. It's dark. Hopefully you guys can see me. Thank you guys for watching. The E30 M50 swap is in the works. It is now a reality now that I have a good donor that is confirmed good. I got pretty discouraged for a second, but we're right on track. Stay tuned for the next vids. I'm gonna be pulling this thing out and getting the E30 ready. Gonna be a good series. See you guys in the next one.